Good evening, everybody. And we've had apologies from Councillor Rai, who is usually the chair of this committee. In those circumstances, I can confirm that we're quorate, and we would look to the committee to nominate a chair to sit in the stead of Councillor Rai. So, any objections? Okay, it's carried.
Great, thank you. So, for those who don't know me, I'm Councillor Josh Blacker. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Standards Committee. We clearly have apologies for absence from Councillor Rai, but other than that, I think we are all here. There are no urgent matters. There is a confidential set of minutes from our last meeting, so if we do want to refer to those, we would have to do so in private if we do need to discuss them, but we can get that one when we need to. Are there any declarations of interest? No, fantastic. So to the minutes of previous meetings, we have 3 sets, so each in turn. Is everyone happy with the minutes of the 4 PM meeting on the 30th of October? Read, lovely. And the 5 PM meeting on the 30th? And the 7 PM meeting on the 30th? Lovely, thank you. Which brings us on to our first substantive item, overview of Freedom of Information Performance 2024, and Lorraine Cox, who is Head of Information. There's a glare governance. Thank you. Will take us through your report, please.
So, good evening, everybody. I don't know if you've had an opportunity to read the report yet, so I won't go through it all, but I just wanted to focus on some salient points, really. It's a busy year for FOIs last year. We had 200 more requests than the year before, which I was working out, if you take an average of 2 hours per request, and it's more than that actually, that equates to about 12 weeks for a full-time member of staff. So there is a big impact for resources across the organisation. 200 more. We're slightly down on our compliance from last year, with 86%. But if you look at section 13, the quarterly statistics, we had 3 really good quarters where we were in the high 80s, and we were just unfortunate in the second quarter it was low 80%, and that's brought the whole year down, which is very unfortunate. And just a note, for January this year we're at 96%, so that's quite pleasing. Section 12, you can see the number of requests received per directorate, and Housing and Environment receive far more than anybody else, and their compliance rate of 86% I think is, that's quite good really, given the resource that it takes to answer these questions. We have measures in place. I think I've mentioned this before. I send a weekly email to the directors telling them what's coming up the following week so they can escalate. We include performance in the strategic leadership team, which is quarterly, so there's visibility over that. We update the portfolio holder quarterly. He comes in, Councillor Donnelly. And we have a strategic director now that we can escalate the mixed directorate requests to, because sometimes, it's good to have one person leading on those. One really good thing that I want to tell you all about is that we're now publishing Freedom of Information responses online. And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to try it, but it's really good. You ask a question, and if there's a request that relates to that, it will bring it back. So we're hoping that will stop some requests, because if people can find the information they're looking for first off, they're not going to make a request. And since the middle of January, we've had nearly 400 visits to that to that portal, which I think is really good. So it's early days to see whether that impacts on the number of requests that we get, but we had 101 in January, so I'm hoping that it will help, and it helps that, you know, the individuals who are looking for that information as well, that they don't have to go through, you know, making a request and waiting, etc. So really pleased about that. Number of internal reviews, slightly up from the year before, but again, with 200 more, we're only looking at 6 more internal review requests, which is quite good, really. And we've had 10 complaints from the ICO, which isn't bad, really. Some of those are because, for whatever reason, the person's unhappy, but the ICO have accepted our decision. I don't think we've had any where the ICO have said, no, you're wrong, do something different. So that's good. I think that's about it, really. So any questions?
Great, thank you, Lorraine. The portal is really good. I would, at risk of skewing the figures, I would encourage you to have a peek, because it is quite an innovation as well, because I think it's AI based as well. So you can do ask a natural language question, and it comes out with the answer. Councillor Gordon.
Thank you. 2 questions. How do we get to the portal? Because I wasn't aware of the portal, or I may have missed it. So it'd be really useful for us to know as councillors, and just further out there.
Yeah, I'll take that way as an action. But if you go onto our website and in the search, just put freedom of information, it will take you there.
That way.
Yeah, but I will get the link sent through.
Great, thanks, Lorraine. The other question I wanted to ask, and it's a more broader comment. Obviously, every year we have this report. Every year it creeps up in terms of numbers of requests. Is there something? Some of them have to go through the FOI process, but we know from talking to our residents, we'll get anecdotes of, I sent in an FOI about something really banal, where the information is out there, a little bit of work on the website, or maybe it's hard to find. Is there something the council should be doing to improve some of the information dissemination, maybe through the website, so that it can be found easily, rather than come to you and this fairly tortuous route to get the information out there?
Again, I think that's something I can take back to our web team, who are responsible for the website, in terms of how it's displayed and how they find information. But yeah.
The previous meeting I was at with Councillor Newsop, we were discussing a lot of data, actually, and I did end up on the data.ealing.gov.uk page, which has a huge repository of lots of information and data that we do have. So that might be something to refer people to as well, because I think there's a number of sections in it, from children, young people, housing, health and social care, environment. So that may be something that, again, we need to publicise more on the website.
Yeah.
Councillor Baklani.
Thank you. Since Councillor Blacker mentioned the AI system, I just wanted to double check with you if this is also used to faster process the FOIs, since it's like, we know about the publication, but what about the processing in terms of the officers writing the FOIs?
No, it's not involved in that. It's purely for publishing the final responses online. Yeah.
Got another question which I forgot to ask. Can you give me a sense of, with the FOI requests, how many are coming from residents and how many coming from journalists or bloggers or these people? Because I suspect, again, because you see these generated stories on what purports to be the local media, and is that proportion increasing, or is it hard to measure?
It's hard to measure, because an FOI is considered applicant and motive blind, so we don't always know who the person is, and although they give a name, they could still be a journalist, but the email address isn't from an obvious media website, so we don't really know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sort of not dissimilar sort of question, really, and I know there's no, I think the term, there is no assumption of malice isn't quite the right word, it's too sinister, but sort of other ulterior motives other than in the public interest, which is clearly why the FOI was instigated, and it is used for all sorts of different things. I just wanted to make the point, and you mentioned Councillor Donnelly, but we have a a quarterly business board where we assess all of the different elements of work and progress in the company, and we give this significant oversight because we really see it as something that is of significant importance to our in terms of our responsibility. So thank you for pretty good figures on achieving all of that, and I can imagine that some of those questions that you see over and over again, and having to wrangle our services to give you those answers is quite a challenge. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And I always say that I'm here presenting the report, but it's the organisation as a whole that feeds into this. So it's down to them really. So yeah.
Any other questions on this one? Yes, Karen.
So just as an independent, the metrics, just as a comment, do appear to be, I think, good. I think they're good metrics from my perspective anyway. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And I don't know whether or not, do we know how we compare with any other councils? Is that information available?
I don't have that to hand,
No.
but I could maybe.
Would be interesting, wouldn't it, to know?
Yeah.
So, for those without the microphones on, the suggestion was that we do an FOI, but perhaps not. But no, I think. Thank you, Karen. That's a good question. Maybe something that we get in next year's report, perhaps, that we can monitor that. But if there's no other questions, Lorraine, thank you very much. And as you say, almost a 10% increase in the number, although the overall proportion went down, a 10% increase in the numbers that were responded to within time just shows we are making progress. And that although, as Councillor Newsub says, it is something that gets looked at by Cabinet and SLT together in terms of our performance. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are welcome to stay if you wish to listen to Justin's presentation of the annual standards report, but you are more than welcome to go home.
I'll stay.
So we will move on then to the annual standards report. Justin Morley, deputising for the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm here to present the succinct annual review of standards complaints covering the period from 1st of March 2024 up until the 28th of February 2025. And you will have all read the report and will have seen that there have been 6 complaints which have been addressed through that year. It is worth noting none of those complaints proceeded to an investigation. It's worthwhile to note that in October 2024, we took this committee took the opportunity to review and revise the arrangements to consider and address complaints against members, and of the 6 that have been dealt with over the past 12 months, one of those, so number 6 in your appendix, number 1, was considered under the new regime, or the revised regime, I should say. So if I take it to paragraph 6, at the time of writing, there were no live complaints being considered by the monitoring officer. There's been a slight update to that. So there are 2 complaints currently being considered, and they haven't yet been accepted for an investigation, but those 2 complaints will be reported on in the next report this time next year. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Thank you, Justin. Any questions? No, I think the only question would be on the new updated guidance, because there is noise from, it would be Cabinet Office, wouldn't it, that there would be updated, particularly sanctions available. Do we know when that is likely to come out now, and what impact that would have on our regime?
So you're right to flag that. So there's a consultation taking place at the moment, and the government policy seems to be kind of moving towards exploring how to give committees such as this more teeth in terms of sanctions. The consultation is coming to an end shortly, I think mid-March. I need to double check that, however, and we will await to see what comes from that consultation. And there is lots of chat through kind of local authority networks around the pros and cons about kind of additional teeth for standard committees, and yeah, we'll wait to see what comes out of that.
Right, Thank you very much. No other questions, so we can note the report. And as you say, we'll get those two complaints in next year's report. So hopefully we won't deal with them in the interim, but we will if we need to. And so thank you very much, Justin. And I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. So the next meeting is on Tuesday the 6th of May. We will see you then.